It looks clean, it's not clean. All the mess is on this side. I don't know if this is the setup, but it is certainly a setup. I'm still working out what the setup in this room is gonna be, but I was told by somebody today that in terms of background noise, which was really my biggest concern and why I've been away for so long, she told me, she's like, a lot of the time no one hears it in the way that you think they do. So if you do happen to hear cars passing outside, I just live on a busy street and it's raining, so it makes it a little bit louder. I'm rambling at this point. Hi, I've been gone for a long time. What's been going on? I want to reintroduce myself a little bit because I noticed today that I had like 3 new subscribers, and I think I've been seeing more people come in as well. So hi, I'm Lindsay. I am an aspiring musical theater actress as well as other types of actress, movies, TV, that sort of thing. I am 23 years old. I have not graduated college. I was gonna say I graduated in and I didn't graduate. I didn't graduate college. That's a very long story, but I make videos about theater, I make videos about mental health and working in the performing arts industry, and I'm also looking to expand out into things like books. As you can see behind me, that is an interest that I do have. Books, and as well as film and movies and things like that. But yeah, lately it's been theater, and lately, really recently, it's been a mix of everything because COVID has made it very hard to talk about theater when theater is the only thing that isn't happening anymore. I wanted to talk about all the stuff I've done since lockdown, because I was still in lockdown when I made a vlog last, and now we're not really, kind of. So one of the first things I did was I went back to work. I went back to my part-time retail job. Good morning. It is Tuesday and we're about to go into work. I woke up several times throughout the night, which is kind of how I react when I'm anxious. Hopefully that won't happen again, but I feel the same way, exactly the same way I do on the first day of school, like the same jitters. It's the longest job I've ever held down, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to be to have been there for 2 years. I feel like I'm officially like a senior person there, but I had to do a bunch of shopping. I did vlog it. I didn't make a video about it though, so I'll insert some clips here. But I had to go shopping. I had to get all my clearance and stuff. I had to call like our clinic and answer a bunch of questions. I had to buy some new masks for my job, and go like clothes shopping because I needed like summer clothes for that job, which now I don't anymore because it's November. It's been really good. My job has been really, really good about the COVID thing. They've been really good about making sure that we all feel comfortable and that we all feel safe, and they've only doubled down on the COVID protection since I've come back. They've been super, super great, and I not a single one of us have had any kind of COVID case. We haven't heard of any kind of COVID cases within the company, so that's really, really good, and I'm really grateful for them. I just threw this in here because it was a fun little thing that I had never done before. I went to Salem, Mass. I live in New England. I'd never been to Salem before, and right before I went back to work, Mom, my sister, and I sort of took a week out of August before I went back to work, and we called it Vacation Week, where we just did a bunch of day trips and stuff, this would have been the week we would have gone on a trip if COVID hadn't happened. So we just did a bunch of day trips, and one of the ones was to Salem. Honestly, the coolest town ever. I loved it so much. I wish I'd taken more video, but there were some places where like video wasn't allowed because we went to the Witch Museum, which had this really weird mannequin show that was very creepy. And if you have watched the Netflix movie Hubie's Halloween this year, that museum is featured in it, so we got really excited because they shot a scene like in the museum there. I went to this amazing store. I don't want to call it a vintage store because it doesn't sell like vintage clothing, kind of, but it's called Emporium 32. Go look at their website if you can. It doesn't have everything in their store on it, but it has a lot. It was the coolest thing ever. I think I only have like one Instagram story of it, and I was just, me and my sister were like, this is our aesthetic, this is amazing, oh my gosh. It was like this cool steampunky vintage, like everything kind of looked like handmade and handcrafted, and all the packaging felt really old-timey and really creepy and cool, and oh my gosh, it was so... I spent so much money in Salem, like so much money in Salem, and I want to go back really, really bad. The big thing for me was I got to go back to New York City for the first time since February, when I was there for an audition, and that honestly was like the biggest post-lockdown stepping stone for me, because New York and I have such a love-hate relationship, and it really depends on like what I'm doing and who I'm with. I feel like that affects my opinion or feelings about the city whenever I go back. And this time I went on my birthday, and I went to go visit my friend Liz, who lives there now, and we didn't do any real touristy things. We just like hung out in her neighborhood and went to like one of the Strand branches and looked at books and ate lunch on her rooftop and rode the subway, and it was all very like chill. And also because it's still COVID and everything, like Grand Central was basically empty, or as empty as it can get. And both me and my sister have like huge anxiety issues, and we were just like, this is the ideal New York experience for anxious introverts like us, because there's not as many people, we're supposed to stay away from each other, this is great. And I had the best time. We only had like, it was such a whirlwind trip because the trains we took were so staggered far apart that there was only like a few trains we could get us back home. So after like a 3-hour commute down, we had maybe 2.5 hours before we had to be back at the train station, like on the other side of the island, in order to get home on time. And we still had to call our mom to come pick us up at one of the train stations to drive us to where my car was, because our train got delayed and we got stuck on one of the last few stops on the way there, so we missed our connecting train to get me back to our car, so we had to have her come get us and drive us back. But it was all fine. But I missed the city so much. I mean, as much as it has its like problems and everything, I missed being there, and I want to go down again when it's safe, because I know things are starting to kind of close up again, and we've got a little bit of a spike in cases. So when things are safe again, I'd love to go down for a weekend and just hang with my friends and go to museums and bookstores and cafes and just like actually enjoy doing New York like as a New Yorker does, not for an audition, not to go see a show, not to like do touristy stuff, like actual New York things, just like everyday stuff. So I'm really looking forward to getting to go back again. Speaking of COVID, because that's all anybody's talking about anymore, I had to get tested for COVID, not necessarily because I went back to work, but because I had like a weird little like sick spell. Like this happened, like it was weird. It was like clockwork. So like at the beginning of September, I had like a weird like chills and like stomach thing that kept me up like all night, and I like emailed my work at 3 in the morning basically like, hey, this is a preemptive strike, but just like emailing you now to let you know I'm gonna be calling you when someone's at the store to say I can't come in. And so it was like really weird, but it wasn't respiratory, so I was like, it's not COVID, it's fine. And at the time they didn't tell me to like report anything, and then I was fine. And it was, you know, I figured it was an anxiety thing, because like it came at a time when like there was a lot of upheaval just like for me personally, and like a lot of stuff going on in the world, and like I just figured it was my anxiety manifesting, because it does that sometimes, like physically it'll like make me ill. So I figured it was like one of those things, it'll be over in a few days, whatever. I got better and went back to work. Literally almost a month later, like right at the end of September, almost into October. Oh no, it was right after my birthday. So like the first full week of October, it happened again. And I actually looked up like the COVID symptoms, like the full list, not just like the loss of taste and smell and the breathing stuff. And some of my symptoms were on the lower level COVID list, not the emergency one, but like the lower level, like less common symptoms. And I said, oh, okay. So I had to call work's clinic, and they basically took my clearance away for a whole week. until I could call my doctor and get cleared for something else. So I called my doctor. They told me to get a COVID test, and I had to drive to the next town over and do a drive-in COVID test. And that was an experience. I was really anxious the whole time because like I don't like going through drive-thrus normally, just because like small spaces in my car, like I get really nervous. And they handed me this stuff through the window, and I like had to stick the thing up my nose and like do it in both nostrils, which I didn't know is how it was done. And like they just make you like, people talk about how far up it goes. It didn't have to go super far up. It's just they make you like rub it around for like 30 seconds, I think. And there's some kind of chemical on it that made me want to sneeze through the whole thing. So I was like just like this for what felt like hours. It wasn't hours, it was like probably a couple of minutes, but it was just like really awkward, and there's like cars behind me, and I'm just like, do they know this is what I'm doing right now? Are they like waiting for a prescription and I'm here just like getting a COVID test? And then I had to wait a few days to get cleared, and then I had to wait another few days because it was like a holiday weekend to call the clinic again to be like, I'm fine. And then they had to do a follow-up with my own doctor and I had to tell them, I'm like, it's fine, it was anxiety, it was like a whole thing, it happens to me sometimes, it's fine. Like, and finally they're like, okay, we believe you don't have COVID. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. I was like, I got a negative test result, this stuff happens to me constantly. On my other long list of health things, this just happened last week. I both got and then recovered from sciatica because I'm 80 years old. For the uninitiated, if you don't know what sciatica is, there's like right by your like lower back, by your tailbone, there's something called the sciatic nerve. And I guess sciatica is when that gets poked at or irritated in some way, because I had some severe back pain for a week and a half. And I asked my trainer about it, and she said like, yeah, it's probably sciatica, I'll show you some stretches to do and blah blah blah. And I went home and I was like going to stretch, and I pulled something and ended up on the floor for an hour before I could get up again, like reasonably, and move to my bed. And then I figured like, okay, it's like fine, like, you know, it'll clear up by tomorrow, like I just pulled something, like whatever. And I went to work, and by the end of the night, I could barely stand. Any slight wrong movement would make like an involuntary like yelp come out of my mouth. I managed to make it through my whole shift, and then I came home and I like could not stand up. Like I had to like lie down. So we ended up having to get like lidocaine patches. It was a whole thing. And today was like the first day I was able to do work without them giving me like a stool to sit on because I'm a cashier. So I felt very good about being able to not have to sit down. And yeah, I turned 23 and my entire body fell apart is basically what happened. And then the final thing, this isn't anything I did, it was just something that happened. It snowed before Halloween. The most Christmassy I have felt in the past month was the day before Halloween, because it snowed. It was like 20 degrees out. I was freezing. And I had like my Christmas candle going. It was great. Yeah, it snowed. That's the most Christmassy I felt because it's been 70 degrees here for like the last week and a half. I'm like ready for the festive season. I'm ready, but I just haven't felt it yet. I haven't felt the chill. I haven't felt the Christmas feeling in the air. Like our Christmas stuff is out at work, but I'm sweating all the time. So it's like, we're not there yet. Those are all the things that I did since I last saw you. Nothing super eventful except for my body just revolting against me. Hope you enjoyed this. It was nice catching up. Tell me what you guys have been doing, because I know some places are still kind of heavily in lockdown, so I don't really know what's happening. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I hate saying that because it doesn't feel right. That's not really what I do. But yeah, I will see you next time, whenever that may be.